The year is 1984, and Nike is about to make a giant leap into the basketball world with their new release of basketball shoes, collaborated with the 21-year-old rookie Michael Jordan, as he wears them during a preseason game for the Chicago Bulls. But there's a huge problem. The black ankle-high trainers with a rich crimson trim are against the NBA's uniformity of uniform rule that requires shoes worn on the court to be either 51% black or 51% white. Nike's new basketball shoes are banned in the league for use. In a letter to Nike, the NBA stated that the league rules and procedures prohibited the wearing of certain red and black Nike shoes by none other than Michael Jordan himself. From that moment on, every time Jordan stepped onto a court in his signature shoes, he was hit with a $5,000 fine, a fine that Nike was happy to pay. This is far from a disaster. In fact, it's a catalyst for an unprecedented advertising campaign used to launch the Air Jordans upon the world.
On September 15th, Nike created a revolutionary new basketball shoe. On October 18th, the NBA threw them out of the game. Fortunately, the NBA can't stop you from wearing them.
The shoes were an instant success, netting $126 million in the first year alone. Today, Nike generates $3 million in Jordan sales every 5 hours. Sit back and get ready to witness the story of how a man, a shoe, and a little bit of rule breaking turned Nike into a household name. Early and mid-80s weren't going too well for Nike. Even though it had established itself as a major player on the market, it was facing increasing competition from other brands, such as Adidas and Reebok. Being a brand that focused on running shoes, the company was caught off guard when fashions began changing. Running shoes gave way to more traditional leather shoes, as well as to basketball and tennis shoes. Nike was left with huge inventories, which totaled 22 million pairs of shoes. Its efforts to dump millions of shoes for as little as $1 per pair to stay alive led to the company reporting losses for the first time since it went public. The earnings were off, the stock price was in the tank, and there was a sense the company was stalled. The situation was so grim that Chairman and CEO Phil Knight opened his annual letter to shareholders with a dystopian outlook on Nike's predicament. Orwell was right. 1984 was a tough year. Despite seeing a negative profit graph, Nike kept a head-on approach to sales and marketing. Phil Knight was desperately looking for ways out of the crisis. He was particularly counting on Rob Strasser. An obnoxious, overweight lawyer from the company's marketing department had the idea that saved what is now Oregon's largest company. At the time, Converse was the official shoe of the NBA. Converse had a strong lineup of superstars like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Dr. J, but all three wore the same shoes despite being stars. Rob Strasser wanted Nike's endorsee to be the individual face of Nike basketball, someone who would boost the company's profile on court but as well as off court. Rob Strasser had a young rookie in mind, Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan was drafted by the Chicago Bulls, he wasn't expected to be the sensation that he soon became. Jordan was by no means the biggest player, but what made him stand out was a different mindset, a combination of sheer efficiency mixed with an exquisite athletic finesse. Like most young kids during the 80s, Michael Jordan was in love with Adidas. This was a man who grew up envisioning himself in flashy track suits and with the 3 stripes on his feet. But Adidas was not interested in going with Jordan, so he decided to go with the next best option, Converse. But Converse told him they couldn't put Jordan above the other athletes they sponsored, so Jordan decided against partnering with them. Meanwhile, the sportswear company Nike was still a young player in the basketball shoe market. Struggling to compete with Adidas and Converse, Nike needed to make a bold move fast if they wanted to keep up with their competitors. Whilst everyone recognized the immense talent in Michael Jordan, Nike was ready to put all their chips on the table and offered him a deal far more lucrative than the bigger companies. This was even before Jordan played his first game. The guy who made the bet was Rob Strasser. There was just one big problem. Michael Jordan didn't want to sign with them. Jordan had never even worn a Nike shoe before, and to him, Nike lacked a certain kind of cool. Jordan's agent, David Falk, wanted him to go with Nike. He suggested to Jordan that they meet with Rob Strasser, but Michael was reluctant, so Falk enlisted the help of Jordan's parents, who convinced them to at least take the meeting. Nike's offer? $500,000 a year. Triple any other current NBA offers, 2 Mercedes cars, and his own line of sneakers. All this was essentially unheard of and a huge risk. But Strasser agreed. Jordan would become the first player in basketball with his own brand of shoes. Michael Jordan jumped, literally, onto this deal. The task of designing the perfect shoes for the newly signed rookie was assigned to Nike's creative director at the time, Peter Moore. The first ever Air Jordan is a stunning piece of footwear. It's high cut and made of premium leather, a unique, one-of-a-kind silhouette unlike most basketball shoes of the era. For the first time in sports shoes, such a spectacular combination of colors were used. The iconic Nike swoosh is prominently displayed, while the original Air Jordan logo is positioned towards the top, making it instantly recognizable. David Falk and Rob Strasser had asked for a shoe that held appeal beyond the basketball court, and Moore's creation certainly delivered. The Jordan Wings logo, featuring the words Air Jordan, arched over a basketball set between 2 wings, was inspired by the flight badges that were worn by commercial and military pilots, and often given as souvenirs to kids on flights. And the iconic name for the brand, Air Jordan, was thought up in mere minutes by David Falk and Rob Strasser, rejecting other potential names, like the Michael Jordan line. Nike has always had a knack for telling stories, and it found the perfect one for the first Air Jordan. In February 1985, a month and a half before the Air Jordan would go on sale to the public, the NBA sent a letter to Nike that said MJ would be prohibited from wearing the new shoes he had previously worn because they violated the league's dress code. Nike turned the NBA ban into an opportunity by using it as a marketing tool. Despite the Jordan 1s originally being banned because the NBA had a specific dress code, the idea was pushed that they were banned because they somehow made Jordan too good a player. The company debuted a national ad that hinted that the forbidden shoes perhaps offered a competitive advantage.
On September 15th, Nike created a revolutionary new basketball shoe. On October 18th, the NBA threw them out of the game.
Jordan could not be stopped, but more importantly, you could not be stopped in Air Jordan 1s. They spent $1 million on marketing by launching a series of ads with Jordan and built up a huge buzz for the Air Jordan 1s 6 months prior to the debut, making them ripe for an instant success. The Air Jordan 1 launch by Nike is a great example of guerrilla marketing, a marketing strategy that relies on unconventional and often low-cost tactics to promote a product or service. It's about thinking outside the box and creating buzz through unexpected means. When Air Jordans were released to the public in 1985, they practically leapt off the shelves. Teenagers saved up their pocket money. They queued for hours. Once they got their hands on their pairs, many meticulously cleaned them with a toothbrush to keep them box fresh. Jordan would see his sponsorship with Nike morph into a multi-billion-dollar business, making him the first billionaire athlete. Air Jordans paved the way for exceptional athletes to sell themselves on a much larger scale. Without Michael, deals such as Cristiano Ronaldo's $1 billion deal or Tiger Woods' $4 million deal would never have come true. Nike pioneered the power of personal connection between consumers and professional athletes, and to this day, uses the same philosophy in most of its marketing campaigns. When Nike and Michael Jordan signed the sponsorship deal with Nike back in 1984, it's likely that neither he nor the brand knew what a slam dunk the Air Jordans would be. Today, the Jordan brand brings in over $5 billion in annual revenue for Nike and is widely considered the best partnership in sports history. And Michael Jordan has personally made over $1 billion from Nike and collects $150 million plus in annual royalties. That is 4 times more than any current NBA player. But for every bit that Michael Jordan has benefited from their partnership, Nike has flourished even more. Nike's stock had fallen almost 50% during the mid-80s, and since the release of the Air Jordans, the company's stock has grown a staggering 42,000%. Here are 3 business and marketing lessons that you can learn from this story. 1. The power of collaborations. It shows how 2 new entrants to an arena can combine forces to make a massive impact. Nike and Michael Jordan, both underdogs, took on the whole industry by surprise. Sometimes, partnering with someone that understands your vision and can strategically help you scale your business is the key to long-term success. 2. The power of storytelling. Every Air Jordans has a story attached to it. For example, the first pair, also known as the Banned Ones, was banned by the NBA. Michael Jordan leapt from the free throw line and won the dunk contest wearing the Air Jordan 3. He won the championship in the Air Jordan 6. All these stories help to create a deeper emotional connection between the consumer and the brand, making the Air Jordans not just a shoe, but a symbol of success, determination, and greatness. 3. The power of inventory management. Much of Air Jordan's success is due to its scarcity and making sure supply doesn't keep up with demand. This is quite a contrast to how the company operated before the Air Jordan brand, when Nike was stuck with 22 million pairs of shoes that they could not sell due to change in consumer behavior. This is called the velvet rope strategy, when you use exclusivity in your products to build a desirable brand. Inventory management is an important yet complex topic when you are running your own business, and so is partnership and collaborations between businesses. We have another video about how Apple manages its relationship and inventory with China, which you can watch here. If you found this video educational or interesting, let me know by commenting. Subscribe for more business-related videos.